The guests were still clapping when he said it. 700 people in silk and gold, champagne flutes raised, cameras flashing, and Park Kang-min looked at the woman in white standing 3 feet away from him and said, "I can't marry you." The room didn't gasp. It went hollow, like someone had sucked all the air out at once. His fiancée, Soo-yeon, stood frozen in a dress that cost more than most people's houses, her face doing something it had never done in public. It cracked. "Kang-min," she whispered. "Not here." But he was already stepping back, already looking at someone else. And that someone else. She wasn't even supposed to be in the building. Her name was Lethabo Endalavu. She was standing by the service entrance in a black uniform that didn't fit right, holding a tray she'd almost dropped, watching the most powerful man in Seoul throw away everything for reasons these 700 guests didn't understand yet. But you will. Because what happened in the 6 months before this wedding? That's the part nobody was ready for. And honestly, neither was I when I first found this story. If you love drama that makes you forget to breathe, you're exactly where you need to be. Hit that subscribe button right now because this story is about to take you somewhere you didn't know you needed to go. Let's get into it. 6 months before that wedding, Lethabo Endalavu was not thinking about love. She was thinking about rent. About the fact that her work visa had 3 months left on it. About the restaurant job she'd taken because her architecture internship had fallen through when the firm lost funding. About calling her mother in Johannesburg and lying again about how well everything was going. She was 26 years old, thick in the ways that made men look twice and women look longer. Curves that her uniform couldn't hide no matter how she tugged at it. Hips that had their own geography. A face that shifted between soft and sharp depending on whether she was smiling or assessing a situation. Right now, she wasn't smiling. "Table 14 needs water," her manager said, pointing. "The one by the window." Lethabo picked up the pitcher and walked. The restaurant was one of those places where a single appetizer cost more than her weekly grocery budget. Crystal everywhere. Flowers that probably had their own caretakers. The kind of quiet that only came with money. Table 14 had 4 men. 3 of them were doing most of the talking. The 4th was doing something else entirely. He was watching her. Not the way men usually watched her, which she'd learned to filter out years ago. This was different. This was focused. Like he was trying to solve something and she was part of the equation he couldn't quite work out. She poured the water. Her hand was steady. His eyes never left her face. "Thank you," he said. 2 words. Nothing special about them except everything. The voice was low, unhurried. The kind of voice that didn't need to be loud because rooms went quiet for it anyway. She nodded and walked away. She could feel him still watching. She didn't look back. Later that night, she was taking out trash in the back alley when a car pulled up. Black. The kind of black that absorbed light. A window rolled down. "You're the waitress from inside," the voice said. His voice. The one who didn't react. She stopped. Trash bag in hand. Uniform damp with kitchen steam. "Didn't react to what?" "To me," she almost laughed. "Was I supposed to?" A pause. "Then, most people do. Then most people have more free time than I do." She turned back toward the door. "Good night." Wait. She didn't wait. She went inside, let the door close behind her, stood in the kitchen for a moment with her heart doing something it hadn't done in a long time. She told herself it was just adrenaline, just the strangeness of a rich man in an alley asking why she hadn't reacted to him, just the weirdness of this country she was still trying to understand, still trying to survive in. It was not just adrenaline. The next day, he came back. Different suit. Same table. Same 3 men with him. Different configuration. Same eyes finding her across the room like he'd been waiting. She served a different section, but she felt him the entire shift. When she walked past, his head would turn slightly. When she laughed at something a coworker said, his conversation would pause. Her manager pulled her aside near closing. Table 14 wants to speak with you. Why? I don't ask questions about men like that, neither should you. Go. She went. The 3 other men had left. He was alone now. The table cleared except for one glass of water. Her water. The one she'd poured 23 hours ago. You kept the same glass, she said. You noticed. I notice things. It's how I stay alive. Something moved across his face. Interest, maybe. Or recognition. Sit down. I'm working. Your shift ended 4 minutes ago. I checked. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she sat. Not because he told her to. Because she was tired and her feet hurt, and there was something about him that made her want to understand what was happening here. My name is Park Kang-min, he said. I know who you are. Do you? You run things. Legal things on top, less legal things underneath. People are careful around you. And you're not careful? I'm very careful. I'm just not scared. There's a difference. He leaned back, looked at her like she'd said something that surprised him. What's your name? Lethabo. Lethabo Ndi Lavu. That's beautiful. What does it mean? Happiness. Joy. My mother thought it would give me good luck. She almost smiled. The jury's still out. Why are you in Seoul? Architecture internship. It fell through. I'm still here because going back means admitting I failed, and I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So you're stubborn. I'm realistic. There's a difference. You keep saying that there's a difference. Because people keep confusing things that aren't the same. He was quiet for a moment. Then, have dinner with me. I just watched you eat dinner. Tomorrow, somewhere else. Somewhere you choose. She looked at him. Really looked. The stillness of his face. The patience in his posture. The something underneath all of it that she couldn't quite name but could definitely feel. Why? She asked. Because you're the first person in 3 years who's talked to me like I'm a person instead of a position. That's a low bar. It's my bar, and you just cleared it. She shouldn't have said yes. She knew that even then. Men like him didn't date women like her. They acquired them temporarily and discarded them efficiently. She'd seen it before. She knew the pattern. But there was something in his voice. Something that sounded less like acquisition and more like longing. Like he was asking for something he didn't think he deserved. One dinner, she said. I pick the place. One dinner, he agreed. You pick the place. She picked a pojangmacha, a street tent. The kind of place where you sat on plastic stools and ate tteokbokki from paper cups, and nobody cared who you were because everyone was too busy being cold and hungry and human together. He showed up in a suit that cost more than the tent, sat on the plastic stool like it was a throne, ate everything she put in front of him without complaint. You're not used to this, she said. I'm not used to any of this. The food, the being normal, the sitting somewhere without security, the talking to someone who doesn't want anything from me except maybe my opinion on fish cakes. Your opinion on fish cakes is very important. Is it? No, but you looked nervous, so I thought I'd give you something easy to focus on. He laughed. Actually laughed. It changed his entire face. Made him look younger, softer, almost gentle. She realized she was staring and made herself stop. You're different, he said. You keep saying that, because it keeps being true. They talked for 4 hours. About nothing important and everything that mattered. About her childhood in Joburg. About his father who had died when he was 19. About the way cities felt different at night. About the specific loneliness of being surrounded by people who wanted things from you. When he walked her home, she didn't invite him inside. He didn't ask to come in. He just stood at her door for a moment, looking at her like he was memorizing her face. Same time next week, he asked. You're asking me out again? I'm asking you to let me keep knowing you. If that requires food, I'll provide food. That's either romantic or manipulative. Can it be both? She almost smiled. Same time next week. I'll pick the place. I'll be there. He was. Every week. For 2 months. And something happened in those 2 months. Something quiet and impossible. Something that felt like falling, except she'd always been so careful about heights. He started texting her. Not often. Just enough. Good morning. How was your shift? There's a building on Hanam that reminded me of something you said about light. She started texting back. Not immediately. Just enough. Morning. Shift was long. Tell me about the building. He told her about the building. And the one after that. And the one after that. Turned out he loved architecture too. Had almost studied it before his father died and duty rearranged his life. You could still design something, she said one night. They were at a different pojangmatcha. Same plastic stools. Same paper cups. Just because you run things doesn't mean you can't make things too. I don't have time to make things. You have time for this. For me. For sitting on uncomfortable plastic talking about fish cakes. That's different. Why? He looked at her. That look. The one that made her forget how to breathe. Because you're the only thing I've chosen for myself in 10 years. She didn't know what to say to that. So she didn't say anything. Just reached across the tiny table and put her hand on his. Just sat there with him while the city moved around them and something enormous shifted quietly between their palms. Stop. Just stop for 1 second. If you're feeling this, if you're already invested in these two people, then you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens next? The thing that tears them apart? You're going to need to be sitting down for that. Subscribe, leave a like, and let's keep going. Because this is about to get so much more complicated. She should have known it was coming. The complication. The thing that would make everything impossible. It walked into the restaurant 3 months into whatever she and Kangmin were building. It had a name. Choi Soo-yeon. It had a face like a magazine cover and a body like a designer's fever dream. It had a ring on its finger that Lethabo recognized immediately because she'd done what every woman does when she starts feeling things she didn't plan to feel. She'd searched him. Read everything. Found the engagement announcement from 18 months ago. Choi Soo-yeon. Daughter of the Choi shipping family. Perfect match. Political union. Wedding scheduled for spring. She'd found it and she'd put it away. In the box in her head where she kept things too heavy to carry and too painful to examine. She'd put it away because what she had with Kangmin wasn't a relationship. It was dinners. Conversations. Texts about buildings. It wasn't supposed to be enough to break her. But Soo-yeon walked into the restaurant that night with 2 friends and sat in Lethabo's section and looked at her with something that wasn't curiosity. It was assessment. The specific assessment of a woman who knows another woman is in her territory. You're the waitress, Soo-yeon said. The African one. Lethabo kept her face neutral. I'm the waitress. How can I help you? Bring us wine. The most expensive one you have. Of course. She brought the wine. Poured it. Felt Soo-yeon watching every movement she made. Kangmin talks about this place sometimes, Soo-yeon said. I wanted to see what the attraction was. The food's not that special, so it must be something else. Her friends giggled. Lethabo said nothing. Tell me, Soo-yeon said, leaning forward. What exactly do you do for him, besides pour water and clear plates? I do my job, Lethabo said. Is there anything else you need? Soo-yeon's eyes narrowed. Something ugly moved behind them. I need you to understand something. Whatever you think is happening, it isn't. Men like him don't end up with women like you. They use women like you when they're bored. Then they come home. Lethabo felt her spine go rigid. Felt the professional mask she'd built over years of customer service start to crack. Your wine is poured, she said quietly. Enjoy your evening. She walked away. Made it to the kitchen before her hands started shaking. She didn't text Kangmin that night. Didn't text him the next day either. On the 3rd day, he showed up at the restaurant looking like he hadn't slept. You're avoiding me, he said. I'm working. Your shift ended an hour ago. Then I'm thinking. About what? She looked at him. All of him. The suit. The face. The man she'd been building something with while pretending it wasn't building. About your fiancé, she said. The one you forgot to mention. His face didn't change. That was the thing. His face didn't change because he'd been waiting for this, expecting it, maybe even dreading it. Soo-yeon came here, he said. She did. What did she say? Nothing I didn't already know. That you're engaged, that you're getting married, that whatever this is, it isn't anything to you. She's wrong. Is she? He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell him. That specific scent she'd started associating with safety, which was insane because nothing about him was safe. She's wrong, he said again. The engagement was my mother's decision, a business arrangement. I agreed because I didn't have a reason not to. And now? Now, I have a reason. Me? You. She should have walked away. Every survival instinct she'd ever developed was screaming at her to walk away. This was not her story. She was not the woman who stole engaged men. She was not the complication in someone else's love life. But he was looking at her. That look. The one that made her forget everything except the two of them standing in this ugly back alley surrounded by trash and kitchen steam and something that felt impossibly like hope. I can't be your secret, she said. I'm not asking you to be. Then what are you asking? I'm asking for time, to end it properly, to untangle everything my mother built without destroying things that can't be rebuilt. I'm asking you to trust me for 60 days. 60 days. 60 days, and then I'll be standing exactly where I want to be, which is next to you. She should have said no, she knew that. Every smart part of her brain was screaming no. But the part of her that had been lonely for years, the part that had stopped believing in this kind of thing, that part said something else entirely. 60 days, she said. Not 61. He almost smiled. Not 61. He kissed her then. The first time, right there in the alley. Brief and certain and devastating. The kind of kiss that didn't ask for permission because it already knew the answer. Then he left, and she stood there for a long time after, knowing that everything had just changed, knowing that she was now part of something she couldn't control. She was right to be scared, but not for the reasons she thought. Because while she was standing in that alley replaying that kiss, Soo-yeon was sitting in her penthouse apartment making phone calls, gathering information, putting together a plan to destroy a woman she'd looked at once and immediately understood was a threat. The first thing Soo-yeon did was quiet, strategic. The kind of move that looked like nothing until you understood what it was. Lethabos' work visa was already complicated. An architecture internship that had fallen through, a restaurant job that didn't technically qualify for the visa she was on. She'd been managing, barely. The kind of managing that meant paperwork submitted just in time and phone calls to immigration lawyers she couldn't afford. The complication arrived in a letter. Review of visa status. Request for documentation. Interview scheduled. Lethabo read the letter 3 times. Something cold settled in her stomach. She called her lawyer. Got voicemail. Called again. More voicemail. Called the number on the letter. We've received new information about your employment status, the officer said. An anonymous tip. What kind of tip? I'm not at liberty to say, but we'll need to see you in person. Bring all your documentation. She hung up. Sat in her tiny apartment. Understood exactly what was happening. She didn't tell Kang Min. That was her first mistake. She convinced herself it wasn't his problem. Convinced herself she could handle it. Convinced herself that adding her immigration crisis to his engagement crisis was more weight than whatever they were building could carry. She went to the interview alone, brought every document she had, answered every question with the calm precision of a woman who had been answering questions her whole life. The officer looked at her with something that might have been sympathy. The documentation supports your case, but the tip was specific. Someone wants you gone, Miss Ndelavu, and they have resources. What do I do? You need a sponsor, someone who can guarantee your employment, someone with enough standing that they won't question the arrangement. She thought about Kang Min. Immediately pushed the thought away. I'll figure something out, she said. She went back to work. Kept her head down. Pretended everything was normal while her entire life teetered on an edge she couldn't see the bottom of. Kang Min noticed. Of course he noticed. He noticed everything about her. Something's wrong, he said. 3 weeks into his 60-day promise. They were at their pojangmatcha, the same plastic stools. But nothing felt the same. Nothing's wrong. You're lying. I'm not. Litable. The way he said her name. Like it belonged to him. Like she belonged to him. Tell me. She told him. All of it. The letter. The interview. The anonymous tip. The fact that she had maybe 4 weeks before they made a decision that would send her back to Johannesburg, with nothing to show for 2 years of trying. His face went very still. That stillness she'd learned to recognize. The one that meant something enormous was happening behind his eyes. Who knew about your visa situation? Only the restaurant. My file? HR? And who has access to HR? She understood. Felt the understanding like ice water. She couldn't, Lithabo said. She doesn't even know I exist. Not really. She knows. She came to the restaurant specifically to assess you. This is how she operates. Quietly. Through systems. She destroys people without leaving fingerprints. Kang Min, I'm ending it tonight. I'm not waiting 60 days. No. She grabbed his arm. You said 60 days for a reason. If you rush this, you destroy things. You said that yourself. I'm not going to watch her push you out of the country. Then help me another way. Sponsor my visa. I know you have businesses. Legitimate ones. Find me something. He was quiet for a moment. Then, if I do that, she'll know. She monitors everything. She'll see my signature on your paperwork. Then let her see it. That's not protection. That's escalation. I don't need protection. I need time. The same thing you asked me for. He looked at her. She looked back. 2 stubborn people in a standoff neither of them wanted. Okay, he said finally. I'll find something, but if she escalates, I'm ending it immediately. No more waiting. Fair. Nothing about this is fair. No, she agreed. But we're doing it anyway. He kissed her. The second time. Less brief. More devastating. The kind of kiss that felt like a promise and a warning at the same time. Okay. We need to pause here. Because Wa, T, Suyeon does next. It's calculated in a way that's actually scary. If you're not subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit that button. Leave a comment telling me what you think Suyeon is going to do. And let's keep going. Because these two have no idea what's coming. Kang Min found her a position. A real one. Junior architect at a firm his family had invested in years ago. Legitimate work. Legitimate visa. Everything above board. She started 2 weeks later. Trading her restaurant uniform for business casual. Trading plastic stools for a real desk. Trading survival mode for something that actually looked like the future she'd come here for. The work was hard, but good. Real architecture. Real projects. The kind of work that reminded her why she'd left Johannesburg in the first place. And Kang Min, he was there. Not every day, because they were both busy and both careful. But enough. Enough texts. Enough calls. Enough moments stolen in coffee shops and back offices, and once, memorably, on the roof of her new office building at sunset. I love Seoul from up here, she said. They were sitting on concrete, legs dangling over nothing, the city spread out below them like a circuit board. I love Seoul from next to you, he said. She laughed. That was terrible. It was sincere. Those aren't mutually exclusive, he smiled. That rare, unguarded smile that she'd started collecting like evidence. Proof that underneath all the stillness, there was someone real. 23 days, he said. Until I end it. 23 more days and then I tell my mother, tell the Choi family, tell everyone. You're counting. I've been counting since day one. She looked at him. This impossible man. This person who shouldn't exist in her life and yet somehow did. What happens after? She asked. After I end it? After all of it. After the fallout. After your mother stops speaking to you and the Choi family tries to destroy your business and everyone in your world looks at me like I'm the woman who ruined everything. Then I stand next to you while they look. And eventually they stop looking. And eventually it's just us. You make it sound simple. It is simple, not easy, but simple. She leaned into him, felt his arm come around her. Sat there in the fading light feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. It didn't last. Day 18, 12 days before his deadline. Lethabo was at her desk when her phone buzzed. A number she didn't recognize. Miss Ndelavu, this is Detective Park, Seoul Metropolitan Police. I need you to come to the station. We have some questions about an assault allegation. Everything stopped. What assault allegation? I'd rather discuss it in person. Can you come now? She went, left her desk, took the subway because her hands were shaking too hard to safely navigate traffic. Arrived at the station feeling like she was walking through water. Detective Park was a tired man with kind eyes. He sat her down in an interview room and placed a photograph in front of her. Choi Soo-yeon. But different. Bruised. Split lip. Black eyes starting to form. Miss Choi filed a report this morning, Detective Park said. She claims you attacked her outside a restaurant 2 nights ago. She has injuries consistent with an assault. She has a witness. I didn't. I'm sorry? I didn't attack her. I haven't seen her since she came to my restaurant 3 months ago. I don't know what she's talking about. She was very specific. She says you confronted her about her fiancé, that you pushed her into a wall, that you struck her face multiple times before running away. That's a lie. I was at home 2 nights ago, alone. I didn't go anywhere. Do you have anyone who can verify that? Kangmin. He'd called her that night. They'd talked for 2 hours, but admitting that meant admitting their relationship, which meant giving Soo-yeon exactly what she wanted. No, Lethabo said. I was alone. Detective Park looked at her for a long moment. Miss Ndelavu, I need you to understand the situation. Miss Choi comes from a powerful family. She has injuries. She has a witness. You have a motive. What motive? The fiancé. Park Kangmin. Are you involved with him? No. Miss Choi says you are. She says you've been having an affair for months and that you attacked her in a jealous rage. Everything collapsed. All at once. Like a building she'd thought was solid suddenly revealing it was made of sand. That's not true, she said, but her voice wavered and Detective Park heard it. I'm not charging you today, he said, but I'd advise you to stay in Seoul. Don't leave the country. And Miss Ndelavu, if there's anything you're not telling me, now would be the time. She left the station, stood on the sidewalk, couldn't make herself move. Her phone buzzed. Kangmin, where are you? Your office said you left suddenly. She stared at the text. Then she typed back. We need to talk. Not in public. Come to my apartment. He was there in 20 minutes. She let him in, watched his face as she told him everything. The call, the photo, the allegation, the witness. His stillness was different this time. Not the stillness of control, the stillness of rage. She's framing you, he said. I know. For something she did to herself. I know. The witness is probably paid. Someone from her staff. This is manufactured. I know. Her voice cracked. But I don't know how to prove it. And if this goes forward, my visa review gets complicated. My job gets complicated. Everything gets complicated. I'll end it. Right now. Tonight. That won't help. That'll make it worse. If you end it while she has an active assault allegation against me, it looks like you chose your mistress over your fiancé. It confirms her story. Then what? I let her destroy you? You find another way. You're powerful. You have resources. Find evidence. Find her witness. Find something that proves I wasn't there. He was pacing now. The first time she'd ever seen him unable to be still. There are cameras, he said. On your building, on the street outside. If you were home that night, they'll show it. I was home. I didn't leave. Then we get the footage. Tonight. He made phone calls. The kind of phone calls that get answered at midnight. The kind of phone calls that make things happen when things shouldn't be able to happen. By 3 a.m, they had it. Footage from her building's entrance. Every hour. She never left. She was visible in frame at exactly the time Soo-yeon claimed the assault occurred, walking to her mailbox in the lobby. Alibi. Solid. Era fatavla. This proves I didn't do it, she said. This proves you weren't there. It doesn't prove who was. Kangmin. She did this. To herself or had someone do it. And I'm going to prove it. How? The witness. Someone knows something. Someone always knows something. And 10, he looked at her. That look. The one that always made her forget to breathe. And then I end it. Not in 60 days. Not in 12. Now. Kangmin. She tried to have you arrested for something you didn't do. She could have destroyed your life, your career, your ability to stay in this country. She's not my fiancée anymore. She's my enemy. Lethabo looked at him. This man who had walked into her restaurant 3 months ago and changed everything. This man who was now standing in her tiny apartment at 3 a.m, rage barely contained, ready to burn down everything he'd built just to protect her. Okay, she said quietly. End it. You're sure? I'm sure. Whatever comes next, we face it together. I'm done hiding. He crossed to her, pulled her against him, held her there in the dark of her apartment with the city humming outside and something enormous shifting between them. I should have ended it the day I met you, he said into her hair. I should have known then. You couldn't have known. I knew, I just wasn't brave enough. You're brave now. Because of you, she pulled back, looked at his face. This serious, controlled, impossible man who had somehow become the center of everything. What happens tomorrow? She asked. Tomorrow I make phone calls. I find the witness. I prove what she did. And then I walk into her penthouse and tell her it's over. She'll fight you. Let her. She has resources. Sodui, Kangming. She doesn't have you. That's the difference. Whatever she has, whatever she throws at me, she doesn't have you. And that means I've already won. He kissed her then. The third time. Different from before. Deeper. Mort certain. The kiss of a man who had made a decision and would not be moved from it. She kissed him back. And for the first time in months, she stopped being afraid. We need to stop here for a second. Look at what this woman just went through. Framed for assault. Nearly deported. Her whole life almost destroyed by someone she'd never done anything to. If you're rooting for her right now, if you want to see her win, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Because what Kangmin does next to end this engagement, it's about to get intense. Stay with me. He found the witness in 48 hours. A woman named Jinna, who worked as Soo-yeon's assistant. She'd signed a statement claiming to have seen the assault. She described it in detail that matched Soo-yeon's account perfectly. Too perfectly. She's lying, Kangmin said to Cho Sung-ho, his right hand, the man who handled the things that needed handling. Her statement is word for word what Soo-yeon said in her interview. Rehearsed. Exactly. Find out what Soo-yeon promised her, or threatened her with. Everyone has a pressure point. Sung-ho found it in one day. Jinna had a brother. The brother had debts. Gambling. Bad people. The kind of people who collected fingers when money didn't appear. Soo-yeon had paid off the debt, in exchange for a signature on a false statement. Get me a meeting with Jinna, Kangmin said. Alone. No lawyers, no witnesses. The meeting happened in a coffee shop. Neutral territory. Jinna was a small woman with nervous eyes and hands that wouldn't stop moving. I know what she did, Kangmin said without preamble. I know about your brother. I know about the debt. I know exactly what she paid you to say. Jinna went pale. Sir, I don't know what I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to offer you a choice. You can keep lying for her. In which case, when this all comes out, and it will come out, you'll be charged with filing a false report. Your career will be over. You might go to prison. Or you tell the truth. Write a new statement. Explain exactly what Soo-yeon asked you to do and why you agreed to do it. In exchange, I guarantee your brother's debt stays paid. I guarantee you won't face charges. And I guarantee you'll never hear from Soo-yeon again. Jin-ah stared at him. Her hands stopped moving. She'll destroy me, Jin-ah whispered. She's going to be too busy dealing with me to destroy anyone, but I need the truth. I need it in writing, and I need it today. Jin-ah was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. I'll tell you everything. The truth was uglier than he'd expected. Soo-yeon hadn't just paid off Jin-ah's brother's debt. She'd caused it. She'd known about his gambling weakness for years and had slowly, deliberately, maneuvered him into situations that made it worse. All so she'd have leverage when she needed it. And the injuries on Soo-yeon's face? She'd paid someone to put them there. A specific number of hits in specific locations. All carefully calculated to be visible but not dangerous. She planned this for months, Kang Min said to Sung-ho afterward. She knew about Lethabo before she even came to the restaurant. She's been watching the whole time. What do you want to do? Kang Min thought about it. About the woman who had tried to frame Lethabo. About the months of manipulation. About the specific cruelty of creating a victim narrative to destroy someone who had done nothing wrong. I want to end this in a way she'll never recover from, he said. Publicly? Privately first. Then publicly. He went to Soo-yeon's penthouse that evening. She answered the door in silk loungewear, her face still showing faint traces of the injuries she'd paid for. Kang Min, she said, smiling. I didn't expect you. We need to talk. She let him in. Poured wine. Sat across from him like nothing was wrong. I assume you're here about the unfortunate situation with your little waitress, she said. I'm so sorry that happened. Violence is never the answer. You're right. Violence isn't the answer. I'm glad you agree. Which is why I'm not going to have you hurt, even though part of me wants to. Something flickered in Soo-yeon's eyes. Excuse me? I know what you did. The fake assault, the paid witness, the months of surveillance. All of it. Soo-yeon's face went still, then rearranged into something cold. I don't know what you're talking about. Jin-ah told me everything. In writing. Witnessed and notarized. Silence. She's lying. She's not. And even if she were, I have other evidence. Camera footage proving Lethabo was nowhere near you that night. Financial records showing the payment you made to the man who gave you those bruises. Text messages you thought were deleted. Soo-yeon stood up, her composure cracking. You can't prove any of that. I already have, and in 48 hours, I'm giving it to the police. Unless what? Unless you withdraw your complaint. Write a statement admitting you made a mistake. Apologize to Lethabo directly and publicly, and accept that this engagement is over. You can't end this engagement. Our families are going to have to learn to live with disappointment. Your mother will never. My mother doesn't get to choose who I marry. Neither do you. Neither does anyone except me. Soo-yeon looked at him. Something ugly moved across her face. It's her, isn't it? The African girl, you're choosing her. I'm choosing myself, for the first time in 10 years. And yes, I'm choosing her too, because she's worth more than everything you pretended to offer. She's a nobody, a waitress. She doesn't belong in your world. She's an architect. And you're right, she doesn't belong in my world. My world is the problem. She's the solution. Soo-yeon laughed. Bitter, harsh, nothing like the polished laugh she used in public. You think this is over? You think you can just walk away from me? From everything our family's built? I think I already have. He stood up, looked at her one last time. You have 48 hours. Use them wisely. He left. She didn't use them wisely. What Soo-yeon did next was something nobody expected. Not Kang Min, not his people, not even her own family. She went to his mother. Mrs. Park was a formidable woman. The kind of woman who had survived her husband's death and held their empire together through force of will and strategic brilliance. She loved her son, but she loved legacy more. Soo-yeon sat in her parlor and told a version of events that bore no resemblance to reality. In her version, Lethabo was a gold digger. a manipulator. A woman who had seduced Kang-min and turned him against his family. In her version, Soo-yeon was the victim of jealousy and circumstance. Mrs. Park listened. Then she called her son. "Come to the house. We need to talk about your situation." He came, expecting resistance. What he got was something else. His mother sat across from him with the face of a woman who had already decided something. "I know about the African girl," she said. "Her name is Lethabo. I don't care about her name. I care about what she represents. A distraction, a liability, a threat to everything your father and I built. She's not a threat. She's everything I warned you about. The kind of woman who takes powerful men and makes them weak, who makes them forget their responsibilities. Mother, you will end this relationship. You will apologize to Soo-yeon. You will marry her as planned, and you will never see this woman again." Kang-min looked at his mother, the woman who had raised him, taught him, made him into the man he was. "No," he said. "Excuse me?" "I said no. I'm not ending it. I'm not apologizing. I'm not marrying Soo-yeon, and I'm definitely not never seeing Lethabo again." His mother's face went rigid. "You don't get to say no to me. I just did. Then you're not my son." The words landed like a physical blow. But Kang-min didn't flinch. "Then I'm not your son," he said quietly. "But I'm still the head of this family. I'm still the one father chose, and I'm still going to do what I know is right, even if you never speak to me again." He stood up, looked at her one last time. "I love you, Mother, but I'm done living your version of my life. It's time to live mine." He left, and for the first time in his life, he felt completely free. Let me ask you something right now. Have you ever had to choose between what your family wanted and what you knew was right? Between the life other people planned for you and the life you actually wanted? If you have, you know exactly how Kang-min feels right now. Leave a comment below. Tell me about a time you had to choose yourself. And make sure you're subscribed because of the wedding scene, the one we started with. We're about to circle back to it. And now you know everything that led up to those 7 words. Let's finish this. The weeks after he left his mother's house were strange, quiet in ways he hadn't expected, loud in others. Soo-yeon withdrew her complaint, not gracefully, not publicly, but she withdrew it. The police closed the file. Lethabo's record stayed clean. Her visa review concluded without incident. She kept her job, kept her apartment, kept breathing. But Soo-yeon didn't disappear. She retreated, regrouped, started building something new in the shadows while everyone assumed she had accepted defeat. Kang-min didn't know that yet. He was too focused on what was in front of him, which was Lethabo, finally, without secrets, without timelines, without the weight of everything that had been pressing down on them for months. They went on actual dates, public ones, restaurants where people recognized him and stared at her, coffee shops where whispers followed them like weather, streets where cameras sometimes appeared from nowhere. "Does it bother you?" he asked one evening. They were walking along the Han River, the city glittering on both sides. Her hand in his. The staring? All of it. The attention. The gossip. The fact that your face is probably on some blog somewhere right now with a headline that says something terrible. She thought about it. "It bothers me less than I expected. Maybe because I spent so long being invisible. At least now people see me. They don't see you. They see a story they made up about you. Then I'll give them a different story. One they can't make up. One that's actually true." He stopped walking, looked at her in that way he had, the way that made her feel like the only person in the city. "I love you," he said, the first time, just like that, on a riverbank. No build-up, no dramatic moment, just truth. She looked at him. This man who had upended her entire life, who had chosen her over everything, who was standing here saying words she hadn't let herself imagine hearing. "I love you too," she said. He kissed her, right there, in public, where anyone could see, where cameras could capture it, where the whole world could know exactly what he'd chosen and why. She kissed him back. And something that had been holding tight inside her finally let go. The next 2 months were the happiest of her life. She threw herself into her architecture work, started contributing real designs, got noticed by senior partners, built something that looked like a career instead of just survival. And Kangmin, he was there through all of it, not in the suffocating way she'd feared powerful men operated, but in the supportive way she'd stopped believing existed. He asked about her projects, remembered details, showed up to her office sometimes with food because he knew she forgot to eat when she was focused. She met his people, not his mother, who still wasn't speaking to him, but the others. Cho Sung-ho, who looked at her with something like respect. The team members who had watched their boss transform over the past year. The business associates who were slowly adjusting to the reality that Park Kangmin was with someone nobody had predicted. They're trying to figure out how it happened, Sung-ho told her one afternoon. They were at Kangmin's office. He was in a meeting. She was waiting. What happened? You, him, the whole thing. Most of them had money on him marrying Soo-yeon and being miserable forever. Sorry to ruin the betting pool. Don't be. I had money on him surprising everyone. I'm the only one who won. She laughed, actually laughed. And Sung-ho smiled. A real smile, not the professional one she'd seen before. He's different with you, Sung-ho said. Lighter. I've known him for 15 years. I've never seen him like this. Like what? Happy. Kangmin walked in then. Saw her. Sao Seung-ho. Saw the way they were both smiling. What's happening here? Nothing, Sung-ho said. Just telling your girlfriend embarrassing stories about you. I don't have embarrassing stories. You absolutely do. Remember the thing with the, meeting's over, you can leave now. Sung-ho laughed, left. Kangmin crossed to Lethabo and pulled her close. What was he actually telling you? That you're happy. Is that embarrassing? Apparently it's unprecedented. He kissed her forehead. It's not embarrassing, it's true. She leaned into him, felt his arms around her, felt safe in a way that still surprised her sometimes. She should have known it couldn't last. The invitation arrived 4 months after Soo-yeon withdrew her complaint. Heavy cardstock, gold lettering. The kind of invitation that announced something important. A gala, charity event. All the major families would be there, including the Parks, including, presumably, Kangmin's mother. You don't have to come, he said when he showed it to her. Yes, I do. Litabo. If I hide every time there's a chance of confrontation, I'll be hiding forever. Your mother has to see me eventually. Might as well be on neutral ground with 500 witnesses. He looked at her, that assessing look, the one that meant he was trying to figure out if she was being brave or reckless. It won't be pleasant. I didn't expect pleasant. I expected necessary. You're sure? I'm sure. She was not sure. Not even a little bit. But she'd learned something about herself in the past year. She was done running from things that scared her. The gala was exactly what she expected. Glittering. Excessive. Full of people who looked at her and immediately calculated her worth based on things she didn't have. The right family. The right background. The right skin. She wore a dress Kangmin had bought her. Emerald green. Cut to emphasize everything she'd spent years being self-conscious about. Her curves, her hips, the body she'd finally stopped apologizing for. You look incredible, he said when she came out of the bedroom. I look like I don't belong here. You look like the only real thing in a room full of performances. That's different. She almost smiled. You always know what to say. I always mean what I say. That's different. She laughed. He smiled. And for a moment, standing in his penthouse in a dress that cost more than her first apartment, she felt like maybe this could work. Maybe she could build a life in his world without losing herself. Then they arrived at the gala, and reality reasserted itself. The whispers started immediately. Not quiet enough to miss, not loud enough to confront. Just the constant low hum of people talking about her while pretending not to. That's her. The African one. I heard she was a waitress. I heard she destroyed his engagement. Look at that dress. Trying so hard. Lethabo kept her face neutral. kept her spine straight, kept walking beside Kang Min like none of it touched her. But it touched her. Every word, every look, every moment of being assessed and found lacking. Kang Min's hand found hers. Squeezed. "We can leave," he said quietly. "No, we stay." "Le table." "I said we stay." They stayed. Moved through the room. Made conversation with people who looked at her like she was an interesting experiment. Drank champagne that tasted like money. And then Mrs. Park appeared. She was smaller than Lethabo expected. Elegant in that specific way that came from decades of being important. Her face gave nothing away as she approached. "Mother," Kang Min said. "Kang Min." Mrs. Park's eyes moved to Lethabo. Assessed. Dismissed. Returned to her son. "We need to talk. Privately. Anything you want to say to me, you can say in front of Lethabo. This is family business. She's going to be family, so..." Something flickered across Mrs. Park's face. Something that might have been anger, or surprise, or both. "You're serious about this?" "I've been serious from the beginning. You're the one who refused to believe it." Mrs. Park was quiet for a moment. Then she looked at Lethabo directly for the first time. "You think you've won something," Mrs. Park said. "You think because he chose you, you've beaten everyone who tried to stop you. I don't think I've beaten anyone. I think I found someone who loves me. That's not a competition. Everything in this world is a competition. The fact that you don't understand that proves you don't belong here. Maybe I don't belong here, but he loves me anyway, and I love him, and that's going to have to be enough for you eventually." Mrs. Park stared at her. Something shifted in her expression. Not softening exactly, but something. "You're not what I expected," Mrs. Park said finally. "I rarely am." That wasn't a compliment. I didn't take it as one. They looked at each other. Two women who had nothing in common except the man standing between them. "I'm not going to accept this," Mrs. Park said. "I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to stop fighting it." "Why would I do that?" "Because your son is happy, for the first time in years, and you can either be part of that happiness, or you can lose him completely. Those are your options." Mrs. Park's jaw tightened. For a moment, Lethabo thought she was going to say something terrible. Something that would end this conversation and possibly end everything. But she didn't. "We'll see," Mrs. Park said. And then she walked away. Kang Min let out a breath. That was terrifying? I was going to say impressive. It can be both. He almost smiled. "You just told my mother to stop fighting us." Someone had to. No one's ever talked to her like that. Then everyone's been too polite. He laughed. Actually laughed. In the middle of the gala, people turned to look. More whispers. "Let them look," he said. "Let them all look." And he kissed her. Right there, in front of everyone. His mother, the whispering socialites, the entire glittering room. Let them all see exactly who he'd chosen. Okay, real talk for a second. Lethabo just stood up to a woman who could destroy her life with a phone call. She just claimed her space in a room full of people who wanted her gone. If that doesn't deserve a like and a subscribe, I don't know what does. Hit those buttons right now. Becca use we're about to get to the part of the story that changes everything. And I mean everything. The weeks after the gala were different. Not easier exactly, but different. Mrs. Park stopped actively working against them. She wasn't warm, wasn't welcoming, but she stopped fighting. "What changed?" Lethabo asked one evening. They were at his penthouse, cooking together, something domestic and ordinary that still felt extraordinary. "I think you surprised her. By existing? By not backing down. Everyone backs down from my mother. You didn't. I didn't have anything to lose. You had everything to lose. You just didn't let that stop you." She thought about it. "I guess I'm tired of being scared. I've been scared my whole life, of failure, of not belonging, of taking up too much space. I'm done with that." He stopped cooking, looked at her. "What?" she said. "Nothing. I love you. You've said that before? I'm going to keep saying it. Forever. If you'll let me." Something in his voice. something serious underneath the casual words. "Forever is a long time," she said carefully. "Not long enough." He put down the spatula, crossed to her, took both her hands. "I was going to wait," he said. "I had a whole plan. Sunset, the river, the place where I first said I love you, Kangmin. But I don't want to wait. I've waited my whole life for something that felt right. And you feel right. You felt right since the moment you told me you didn't react to me, because you had more important things to think about. That's not exactly what I said. It's what I heard." He let go of her hands, reached into his pocket, pulled out a small box. "Kangmin, Lathabo Ndi Lavu, will you marry me?" She looked at the box, at him, at this man who had changed everything, who had chosen her over his family, his fiancé, his entire world. "Yes," she said. "Yes? Yes, obviously yes. Were you actually worried I'd say no? I've learned not to assume anything when it comes to you." She laughed. He put the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. "How did you know my size?" "I had Sung-ho find out." "Sung-ho knows my ring size?" "Sung-ho knows everything about everyone. It's his job." She looked at the ring. Simple, elegant, not the ostentatious display she'd half expected. "It's perfect," she said. "You're perfect. I'm really not. You're perfect for me. That's what matters." He kissed her, different than before, with the weight of something permanent, something chosen, something that couldn't be taken back. She kissed him back, and felt the last of her resistance dissolve into something that looked a lot like faith. The engagement was announced quietly, deliberately. No splashy headlines, no society page features. Just a simple statement that Park Kangmin was engaged to Lathabo Ndi Lavu. The reaction was exactly what they expected. The whispers that had started at the gala exploded into full conversations. Online, in person, everywhere. She trapped him. She's only after his money. He's lost his mind. His mother must be devastated. Lathabo read some of it, then stopped, because nothing anyone said could change what she knew, what they had, what they were building. "It'll die down," Kangmin said. "I know. They'll find something else to talk about. I know. You're handling this better than I expected." She looked at him. "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Tears? Screaming? A demand that we elope to avoid the attention? Would you? Elope? I'd do anything you wanted. That's dangerous. I might take advantage." "Please do," she laughed, and the noise from outside faded into something that didn't matter. But someone was still paying attention, someone who had retreated but never accepted defeat. Soo-yeon had been quiet for months. Too quiet, the kind of quiet that should have been a warning. She had spent those months rebuilding. Not her relationship with Kangmin. That was over. She knew that now. But her reputation, her position, her power. And she had spent those months planning. The plan was simple, elegant. The kind of plan she should have executed from the beginning instead of the messy assault allegation that had backfired so spectacularly. She was going to destroy Lathabo's career, not with lies this time, with truth. It started with a phone call to the architecture firm where Lathabo worked. "I have information about one of your employees," Soo-yeon said. "Information you'll find very interesting." The information was this. Lathabo's university transcripts from Johannesburg had an irregularity, a class she'd failed and retaken. Nothing scandalous, nothing disqualifying, but the way it was recorded created an ambiguity. An ambiguity that, if presented correctly, could look like fraud. Soo-yeon presented it correctly. The firm launched an investigation. Quiet, professional. The kind of investigation that didn't assume guilt but definitely assumed the need for scrutiny. Lathabo found out on a Tuesday. Her supervisor called her into a meeting, showed her the documents someone had sent. "We don't think you did anything wrong," her supervisor said, "but we need to verify your credentials. Until then, you're on administrative leave." Administrative leave. Paid. Full benefits. Just until we sort this out. "I didn't falsify anything. I believe you, but the firm has to do due diligence. I'm sorry. Lethabo walked out of the meeting, walked out of the building, stood on the sidewalk in the middle of Seoul trying to understand how everything had fallen apart again. Her phone buzzed. Kangmin, how was work? She stared at the text, typed back. Something happened. Can you come home early? He was there in an hour. Found her sitting on the couch, staring at nothing. Tell me, he said. She told him. The meeting. The documents. The leave. All of it. His face went still. That stillness she knew so well now. Soo-yeon, he said. You don't know that. I know that. This is exactly how she operates. Finding legitimate-looking vulnerabilities and weaponizing them. It doesn't matter who did it. What matters is my career might be over. Again. Because of something I didn't do. Again. Your career isn't over, Kangmin. Listen to me. We're going to find out where this information came from. We're going to prove your transcripts are legitimate. And we're going to make sure whoever did this faces consequences. And if we can't, we can. But if we can't, he crossed to her, sat beside her, took her face in his hands. If we can't, then you start over, at a different firm, or your own firm, or something we haven't thought of yet. But you don't give up. That's not who you are. You don't know who I am when everything falls apart. Yes, I do. You're the same person you are when everything is fine. You survive. You adapt. You keep going. That's who you are. She looked at him. This man who believed in her more than she sometimes believed in herself. How do you know? Because I've been watching you do it for over a year. You think I fell in love with you because things were easy. I fell in love with you because I watched you handle impossible situations with grace. That's not going away. That's you. She leaned into him. Let him hold her. I'm tired, she said. I know. I'm tired of fighting. I know. But I'm not going to stop. I know that too. They sat there for a long time. Two people who had found each other against impossible odds. Two people who were going to keep fighting no matter what came next. And what came next was this. Sung-ho tracked the documents to Soo-yeon in 72 hours. She'd been careful. Used intermediaries. Created distance. But not careful enough. She sent them through a legal firm that handles reputation management, Sung-ho said. The firm didn't know the documents were being used to harm someone. They thought they were doing due diligence for a potential investor. Can we prove she was behind it? We can prove the firm received payment from an account connected to the Choi family, and we can prove the timing correlates with Soo-yeon's access to certain databases. That's not proof. That's circumstantial. It's enough to threaten, and threats sometimes work better than proof. Kangmin thought about it. No. I'm done threatening her. She keeps coming back. Every time we push her away, she finds another angle. It's time to end this permanently. How? By giving her exactly what she's afraid of. Exposure. Not of what she did to Lethabo. Of everything she's done. Every manipulation. Every payment, every person she's destroyed to get what she wants. All of it, public. That would ruin her. That's the point. Sung-ho was quiet for a moment. You're sure? She tried to destroy the woman I love twice, and she's not going to stop. So yes, I'm sure. It took 2 weeks to compile everything. Soo-yeon's entire history of manipulation, laid out in documents and evidence and testimony from people who had stayed silent for years because they were afraid. Kangmin sent her a preview, along with a message. Call off your attack on Lethabo's career. Withdraw everything. Make it right. Or this goes public within 48 hours. Her response came within the hour. You wouldn't dare. His response was simple. Watch me. 24 hours later, the architecture firm received a letter from Soo-yeon's lawyers, explaining that the documents they'd received were the result of a misunderstanding, that there was no irregularity in Lethabo Ndelavu's credentials, that they deeply apologized for any inconvenience. Lethabo was reinstated the next day. Full status. No mark on her record. She found out while she was at the office. Her supervisor called her in, apologized, explained that everything had been sorted out. She walked out of the meeting and called Kang Min. What did you do? I ended it. How? You don't want to know. Kang Min. I gave her a choice, stop or lose everything. She chose to stop. Lethabo was quiet for a moment. Is she going to come back? Try again? No. How can you be sure? Because I still have everything. And she knows I'll use it if she moves against us again. She's done. Lethabo sat down in her office chair, let out a breath she felt like she'd been holding for months. It's over? It's over? Really over? Really over? Now focus on work. I'll see you tonight. He hung up. She sat there for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened, everything they'd survived, and then she got back to work, because that's who she was. We're almost at the end now. Can you feel it? Everything these two went through is about to come full circle. If you've been watching this long, you're already invested. But I need you to do something. Right now, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, because the wedding scene that started this whole story, we're about to see it from the inside. And what happens after is something you won't want to miss. The wedding was planned for spring, 6 months after the proposal. Small by the standards of Kang Min's world. Only 200 guests. Intimate. Intentional. Lethabo's mother flew in from Johannesburg, a round woman with Lethabo's eyes and a laugh that filled rooms. She met Kang Min for the first time in the airport arrivals hall. So you're the one, she said, looking him up and down. I'm the one. My daughter is precious to me, more precious than anything. She's precious to me too. Good. Because if you hurt her, I don't care how powerful you are. I will find you. Kang Min smiled. I believe you. Good. Now show me this city my daughter loves so much. They got along, surprisingly. Lethabo's mother had the same directness her daughter had, the same refusal to perform. Kang Min found it refreshing. Your mother likes me, he told Lethabo that evening. She's withholding judgment. She threatened to fine me if I hurt you. That's how she shows affection. That's terrifying. You'll get used to it. Mrs. Park remained complicated. She didn't warm up to Lethabo, but she stopped being openly hostile, started attending family dinners where Lethabo was present, started including her in conversations, even if those conversations were brief and formal. Progress, Kang Min called it. Tolerance, Lethabo corrected. Tolerance is progress. For my mother. He wasn't wrong. The wedding venue was a converted warehouse on the outskirts of Seoul. Lethabo had helped design the renovation as part of her firm's portfolio. It felt right, getting married in a space she'd helped create. The guest list was a negotiation. His world, her world, the places where they overlapped and the places where they didn't. They found a balance. His business associates, her colleagues, both their families. Friends who had supported them through everything. And Soo-yeon, not as a guest, as a ghost. The person they didn't talk about but both thought about. The presence that lingered even in her absence. The wedding was scheduled for April. But Soo-yeon wasn't done yet. 3 days before the wedding, something unexpected happened. Lethabo got a call. Unknown number. Is this Lethabo Nd Lavu? Speaking. This is Choi Soo-yeon. We need to talk. Every instinct told her to hang up, to tell Kang Min, to let him handle it like he'd handled everything else. But something made her pause. Talk about what? The wedding. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not calling to threaten you. I need you to hear something. From me. Before you marry him. Lethabo was quiet for a long moment. Where? They met at a coffee shop. Public. Neutral. The kind of place where nothing too dramatic could happen because there were too many witnesses. Soo-yeon looked different, smaller somehow, less polished, like the past year had cost her something she couldn't get back. Thank you for coming, Soo-yeon said. I almost didn't. I know. They sat across from each other, two women who had been circling each other for over a year, finally facing each other directly. I'm not here to apologize, Soo-yeon said. I'm not going to pretend I'm sorry for what I did. Because I'm not. I wanted what I wanted and I went after it. That's who I am. Then why are you here? Because I need you to understand something. About him. About who he is. I know who he is. You know who he is with you. You don't know who he is with everyone else. Lethabo felt herself go cold. What does that mean? It means he's not a good man. He's a man who does whatever it takes to get what he wants. He's a man who threatened to destroy my entire family to make me stop. He's a man who collects power and uses it without hesitation. He used it to protect me. He used it to protect what was his. There's a difference. Lethabo looked at her, this woman who had tried to destroy her, who had filed false charges, who had attacked her career, who had done everything possible to make her disappear. Why are you telling me this? Because you should know what you're getting into. Because marrying him means becoming part of his world. And his world is not kind. It's not soft. It's not the fairy tale you think it is. I never thought it was a fairy tale. Then what did you think it was? A choice. My choice. His choice. The choice to be together despite everything that made it difficult. Soo-yeon was quiet for a moment. I loved him, she said finally. I know you don't believe that. I know you think I only wanted his position, his power. But I loved him, in my way. Your way involved destroying me. Yes, it did. Because I thought if I removed you, he would come back. He would remember what we had, what we were supposed to build together. And now? Now I know it was never going to happen. He was never going to choose me. Not really. Even before you, even before everything, he was already gone. Lethabo looked at her, tried to find sympathy, tried to find understanding, but all she found was exhaustion. I don't forgive you, Lethabo said. I'm not asking for forgiveness. Then what are you asking for? Nothing. I just wanted you to hear it. From me. Before you marry him. Hear what exactly? That he's powerful? That he's dangerous? That his world is hard? I already knew all of that. I chose him anyway. Why? Lethabo thought about it. Really thought. Because he chose me too. Completely. Without reservation. Without asking me to be anyone other than who I am. Because he saw me when everyone else looked through me. Because he fought for me when it would have been easier to walk away. That's not a reason. That's a feeling. Maybe. But feelings are what I've got. And mine tell me he's worth it. All of it. Everything we went through. Everything we're going to go through. He's worth it. Soo-yeon looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in her face. Something that might have been acceptance. Or defeat. Or both. You really love him. I really do. And he really loves you. He really does. Soo-yeon nodded, slowly, like she was processing something she'd been avoiding for a long time. Then I hope you're happy, she said. Genuinely. I hope you're happy together. Do you mean that? I think so. Or I want to mean it. Which is maybe the same thing. Soo-yeon stood up, looked at Lethabo one last time. Good luck, she said. With everything. And then she walked out, and that was the last time Lethabo ever saw her. She told Kang Min about the meeting that evening. All of it. Every word. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. How do you feel? He asked finally. I don't know. Strange. Like something ended that I didn't know was still open. Are you worried? About what she said? About you being powerful and dangerous? Yes. She looked at him, this man she was about to marry. No, she said. I'm not worried. Why not? Because you're powerful and dangerous for me. Not against me. There's a difference. He pulled her close, held her. You keep saying that there's a difference. Because people keep confusing things that aren't the same. He laughed, soft, into her hair. I love you, he said. I know. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt that. I know that too. They stood there for a long time, in his penthouse, 3 days before their wedding. Two people who had survived everything the world had thrown at them, ready for whatever came next. The wedding day arrived with cherry blossoms and perfect weather, the kind of day that felt designed for beginnings. Lethabo got ready with her mother. the same woman who had raised her alone in Johannesburg, who had sacrificed everything to give her daughter a chance, who had watched her fly halfway around the world and never stopped believing she would find her way. "You look beautiful," her mother said. "I look terrified." "That's normal. I was terrified on my wedding day too." "You were?" "Of course. Marriage is terrifying. You're promising to spend your life with someone, to trust them with everything you are. That's not a small thing. How do you know if you're making the right choice?" Her mother smiled. "You don't. Not for sure. But you make the choice anyway. And then you spend every day after that making it the right choice." Lethabo looked at herself in the mirror, white dress, simple, elegant, cut to show everything she'd spent years hiding. "I'm ready," she said. "Yes," her mother agreed. Yoara. The ceremony was perfect, which is to say, it was imperfect in all the right ways. Lethabo's niece dropped the flower petals in a clump instead of scattering them. Someone's phone went off during the vows. Kangmin forgot one of his lines and had to be prompted by Sung-ho. But none of that mattered. What mattered was the way he looked at her when she walked down the aisle, the way his voice shook when he said his vows, the way his hands trembled slightly when he put the ring on her finger. What mattered was the way she felt, like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. Like every hard thing she'd survived had been leading her to this moment. "I do," she said. "I do," he said. And then they were married. The reception was everything a reception should be. Music and food and dancing and speeches that made people cry. Sung-ho gave a toast that was surprisingly emotional. Something about watching his boss become a different person, a better person. Lethabo's mother gave a toast that was surprisingly funny. Something about her daughter's terrible cooking and the man brave enough to marry her anyway. And then it was Kang Min's turn. He stood up, looked at his wife. The words still felt new. "I had a whole speech prepared," he said, "but I'm not going to give it, because the truth is simpler than anything I wrote." He paused, looked at her. "I was lost before I met you. I didn't know it. I thought I was fine. I thought I was successful. I thought I had everything figured out, but I was lost. And then I walked into a restaurant one night and there was a waitress who didn't react to me, who looked at me like I was just a person, who told me I needed to find something more interesting to do with my time." The room laughed. Lethabo felt tears in her eyes. "And I found her, or she found me. I'm not sure which, but I know this. Every day since then has been better than the day before. Every moment with her has been more real than any moment without her. She didn't just change my life, she gave me a life worth living." He raised his glass. "To Lethabo, my wife, my partner, my everything." To Lethabo, the room echoed. She stood up, crossed to him, kissed him while everyone cheered. "That was beautiful," she said. "It was true. That's what made it beautiful." They danced, ate, celebrated. And when the night finally ended, they left together, husband and wife, ready for everything that came next. 1 year later, the architecture firm Lethabo worked for promoted her to senior associate, the youngest in the company's history. Her designs were starting to appear in publications. Her name was becoming known. Kangmin's business continued to grow, but he worked less, delegated more, spent more time at home. His mother had dinner with them once a month. She was still formal, still distant, but she was there, and that counted for something. Soo-yeon had moved to Singapore, started fresh. They heard about her occasionally. She seemed to be doing well. They wished her the best and didn't think about her often. And then one morning, Lethabo woke up feeling strange. Not sick exactly, just different. She took a test, stared at the results for a long time, called Kang Min at work. "You need to come home. Is everything okay? Everything is perfect. Just come home." He was there in 20 minutes, found her sitting on the couch, staring at something in her hand. "What is it?" She held up the test. He looked at it, looked at her, back at the test. "Really? Really?" His face did something she'd never seen before. Completely broke open. Every wall, every careful control. Just gone. He crossed to her, knelt in front of her, put his hands on her stomach like he could already feel something there. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He looked up at her, tears in his eyes. This powerful man, this dangerous man, crying in her living room because she was pregnant. I love you, he said. I know. I'm going to love this child so much. I know that too. We're going to be a family. We already are. He kissed her, gentle, reverent, like she was something precious, something sacred. And outside, Seoul continued its endless motion. People going about their lives, stories starting and ending. The city is indifferent to the small miracle happening in a penthouse above it. But for the two people inside, the whole world had just changed. Again. Forever. And if you made it this far, you know exactly what I'm about to say. This story started with a man walking out of his wedding and ended with the same man crying because his wife is pregnant. That's the power of love. Real love. The kind that fights and survives and chooses every single day. If this story moved you, if you felt something watching these two find each other, then hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment telling me what moment hit you the hardest. And share this with someone who needs to believe in love stories again. Because Black Soul Romance TV series is just getting started. There are more stories coming. More love. More drama. More everything. And I want you there for all of it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying until the end. And I'll see you in the next one.